Laura's practically a parasite. She couldn't survive if she got divorced.
What are you talking about?
Come on, being a stay-at-home mom is basically the same as being a freeloader, right? Laura only gets by because of Steve, doesn't she? Right, Steve?
She tilted her head cutely, seeking Steve's agreement. Steve, clearly pleased, nodded in agreement.
You know, Emma, you really get it. You're the only one who understands.
Laura, you should appreciate Steve more. If he ever left you, you'd be in big trouble. You go straight to being homeless.
Emma giggled, covering her mouth, seeming to take pleasure in the idea of me being abandoned by Steve. And Steve, laughing alongside her at his wife, could no longer be considered my husband. Don't worry, I'll divorce Steve and cut ties with you too. I smiled warmly and spoke firmly to them. I'm Laura, a 50-year-old stay-at-home mom. Right now, I live with my husband Steve, as our only son, Kevin, left for college and moved out. I got married at 27, so Steve and I have been together for 23 years. Looking back, life with Steve, who's got a traditional, old-school mindset, has probably been more challenging than easy. I always knew how fragile the role of a stay-at-home mom could be. That's exactly why I intended to keep working even after we got married. However, right after we got married, it was Steve who voiced his disapproval.
You want to keep working after we get married? Why is that?
Steve asked me with a very puzzled look. Well, I thought it might be best until we have kids. I enjoy my job, and with both of us working, our income would be more stable, right? Not expecting any objection, I answered Steve's question honestly. Maybe in the past, it would have been unusual, but these days, both spouses working isn't rare. I thought he'd understand once we talked it through. However, the displeased look on Steve's face didn't change.
What do you mean by stability? Isn't my income enough? Sorry if my salary's too low for you. Are you saying I can't support even my wife?
I was shocked at how quickly Steve got worked up, and I hurried to deny it. No, that's not it. I'm not saying that at all. I know your income is more than enough. I just want to work, that's all. He worked for a well-known major company in our area. His salary was more than enough to support a wife and child comfortably. That was probably why he couldn't understand why I wanted to work.
A wife going out to work. That's just not part of my life plan.
Steve seemed to have it ingrained that supporting a wife was the husband's duty, and that a man who made his wife work was lacking in character. Looking back, I regretted not discussing this more before we got married. I wanted to find a way to convince Steve so I could go back to work, but shortly after, I got pregnant. There was no way Steve would ever allow putting our child in daycare so I could work. I had no choice but to give up my job and focus on raising our child. But now, looking back, trying to balance both would have been impossible either way. Steve had made it clear he wouldn't help at all with housework or child rearing. Fine with housework, but raising a child. Kevin is your son as well as mine.
So what? I'm out there working, supporting both of you, right? How's that wrong? Earning money for my family is a big part of raising a child too.
I could understand his point. However, as soon as he got home from work, Steve would retreat to his room, and on weekends, he'd sleep in, go out, and enjoy his own time. Watching him like that left me with an indescribable feeling. I just wanted to spend family time together because I adored Kevin, But every time I said that, Steve's response was always the same.
You know who's letting you focus on raising our kid? Me. My mom didn't rely on my dad either. Maybe you were spoiled as the youngest. But a mom raising the kid alone is just normal, isn't it? Stop expecting me to handle everything.
It's not about relying on you. I just want to spend more time together as a family.
That's too much for me. Can't I have any time to myself? You work me to the bone. And this is completely unfair.
I couldn't understand why Steve acted like the victim when he was the one who insisted I couldn't work. Talking to him was pointless. Once I realized that his personal time was more important to him than our child, I stopped expecting anything from him. It felt less like a family and more like we were just roommates. As Kevin reached upper elementary school, he began prioritizing friends more, creating his own world. With more free time on my hands, I decided to talk to Steve about starting a part-time job. But of course, Steve's answer hadn't changed. I'll keep doing all the housework as usual, so why can't I work? Plenty of your coworkers have wives who work.
What if you get so wrapped up in your little side job that the house gets neglected? I'm the one who'll have to deal with that.
Well, let's talk if that even happens.
Absolutely not. Nothing good comes from a woman working. And remember, if you ever go behind my back, I won't let it slide.
I thought about going back to work despite his refusal, but for Kevin's sake, I couldn't consider divorce yet. I had no choice but to continue as a stay-at-home mom, at least until Kevin moved out. Originally, I had planned to start doing things my way once Kevin graduated from college. By then, I'd be 50, still full of energy. Just 6 more months to go. But then something unexpected happened. Marriage?
Yes.
Kevin, who had come home for summer break, announced he'd be getting married right after graduation. But you're still in college. Why on earth would you be thinking about marriage now?
Well, it can't be helped because we're expecting.
Expecting while you mean?
Congrats, Mom. You're going to be a grandma.
Watching Kevin laugh so casually, I felt a wave of dizziness. Sure, a baby is wonderful news in itself, but the timing was the problem. Kevin had secured a job offer with a local company, but he was still a college student with neither income nor savings. Apparently, his fiancée is a fellow classmate from the same college.
Her name's Emma. She's bright and sweet, so even a shy person like you will get along with her, Mom.
This was hardly the time to worry about that. Does Emma have plans for after graduation, like work?
Well, she's been applying to places, but didn't get into any of the good ones. And now that she knows she's pregnant, she stopped job hunting.
I see. Basically, she's decided to go through with the pregnancy. If that's what they've chosen, then as parents, we have no choice but to support them. First, we should introduce ourselves to her parents. As I muttered this, feeling overwhelmed, Kevin waved his hand casually in front of me.
No need for that. Emma's parents are divorced, and she was raised by her mom, who's mostly out of the picture, living with her boyfriend.
What? But if you're getting married, we should at least meet.
I did ask, but Emma said if we get involved, it'll just put her mom in a bad mood. Emma actually told me not to, and if we really must, to stick to a phone call.
It's such an important decision that could change their lives. Can they really just handle it like this? Well, let's talk it over with Steve first, and I'd also like to meet Emma, if possible. I knew Steve would probably find it a hassle, but handling this alone wasn't an option. After coordinating with Kevin, we decided to invite Emma over to our home the following weekend. As expected, Steve's reaction to Kevin's marriage announcement was predictable.
Marriage between kids who aren't even self-sufficient yet. What is this world coming to?
If you have something to say, direct it at Kevin, not me. The fact that he waited until Kevin had left to voice his complaints showed Steve's soft side. Though he's hardly involved in parenting and doesn't seem too interested in Kevin, Steve still dislikes being disliked by his son, so he's never been able to discipline him. Any grumbling or nagging ends up directed at me.
It's me who bears the brunt of his misplaced frustrations. Really, it's because you didn't raise him right. That's why Kevin turned out so carefree.
If you had any complaints about how I raised him, maybe you should have participated in parenting. I invited you so many times, but you always prioritized your work, going out, and your own time. Steve's face flushed red with anger.
Now that you're an old hag, all you do is mouth off. Can't you at least respect the man who's the breadwinner?
If I'm an old hag, then at 9 years older, you're practically over the hill. I almost fired back, but I managed to hold back, knowing it would only make things worse. Anyway, Emma's coming over next weekend, so please make sure you're here. Absolutely.
You don't need to tell me. I'll give those kids a proper talking to.
Though Steve was all fired up, he didn't end up giving them a proper talking to at all.
Hello, I'm Emma. Wow, what a lovely home. Nice to meet you, Steve. Kevin told me you're an amazing dad.
Her bright smile and sweet voice, framed by perfect makeup, were completely disarming.
It's so wonderful to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Well, likewise. Such a lively young lady.
For all his talk about giving her a lecture, Steve was smitten within minutes of meeting Emma. Emma was simply far more charming than he was prepared for.
Kevin has a good eye. You're going to make an amazing wife.
Thank you.
She really was cheerful, articulate, and quite a lovely person. With these two, they might actually build a better family than Steve and I did. In that case, I really do have to support them. As I was quietly reflecting on this, Kevin suddenly blurted out something surprising.
After the baby's born, can you look after Emma at our place?
What? I glanced over at Emma, who was nodding eagerly. But doesn't Emma's mom still live nearby?
Mom's wrapped up with her boyfriend and told us she's not interested in helping with my baby.
Can a mother really think that way about her grandchild? And wouldn't Emma be more comfortable staying with her own mom? Looking after her after the baby? For how long? And where would she stay? Seeing my hesitation, Steve raised his voice.
Hey, don't make that face. It's rude to Emma.
It's not that I'm unhappy. I just was surprised, that's all. I'm sorry, Emma.
Don't worry, Laura. I know you're a bit socially awkward. Kevin told me all about you.
I was left with my mouth hanging open. I know I'm not great with people, but calling me socially awkward felt a bit much. Besides, that's hardly something you say to someone's face. Kevin said that. About me?
Yes. He mentioned that since you've been a stay-at-home mom and haven't worked, you're socially awkward and a bit out of touch. But don't worry. I don't mind those things at all. You're doing great, Laura.
Emma patted my shoulder encouragingly, and I could feel my face flush with heat. Watching this, both Steve and Kevin burst into laughter.
Thank goodness Emma's so understanding.
Right? Maybe hanging around with Emma will help cure Mom's social awkwardness. Unlike our stay-at-home mom, Emma's held plenty of part-time jobs.
Oh, it wasn't like I chose to be a stay-at-home mom. A flood of responses came to mind, each one I wanted to say. But I worried that if I spoke up in front of Emma, who hadn't done anything wrong, she might feel uncomfortable. That would be unfair to her, and I didn't want to put her in that position. So I held back and looked down.
Wow, all those jobs. Impressive. Laura should really take after Emma.
With Steve and Kevin's praise, Emma looked pleased, smiling shyly.
But I'm not great at household chores.
Don't worry, you can have Mom do those.
Yeah, it's pretty much the only thing she's good at.
How humiliating. I couldn't bring myself to lift my head. Maybe it's just my imagination. I snuck a glance at Emma from under my lowered gaze. She was watching me with an expression of smug satisfaction. After that, Steve became completely taken with Emma. He was so enamored that he encouraged their marriage, and the two got registered before even waiting for graduation. By the way, as per Emma's request, the only introduction with her mother was over the phone. She said she'd leave everything to us. As for the newlyweds' home, it turned out to be our house. I thought it was unthinkable, but apparently it was what Emma wanted.
I'll be coming over after the baby's born anyway. Kevin said I can just relax here and not worry about a thing.
Emma said cheerfully, without a hint of guilt. Well, you're pregnant, so take it easy.
Got it.
Even though I knew it couldn't be helped, seeing Emma lounging around every day left me with a strange feeling. What really got to me was her attitude. Emma quickly grew comfortable in our home, and before a month had passed, she was acting as if it were her own.
Laura, I'm out of drinks.
When I responded to her call, she waved her empty glass in the air.
Staying hydrated is important, so please keep refilling this for me.
She said with a smirk that clearly looked down on me. Why do I have to put up with this treatment? Maybe I should just walk away from it all. As I mulled this over, I got a call that evening from Steve's sister, Jessica.
Mary's back for a bit, so I thought it'd be nice if we all got together. And I wanted to talk to you about something.
Mary is Jessica's daughter. She's a dedicated career woman currently working overseas. Steve's parents had already passed away by the time I married him. Maybe that's why Jessica reaches out to me like this from time to time. That sounds wonderful. I'd love to see everyone. This might be just the break I need. When I mentioned it to Steve, he was all for it.
Let's invite them over this weekend.
The weekend came, and we welcomed Jessica and her family to our home. It's been a while.
Long time no see. Hi, Laura. Have you lost weight?
Well, yes, a little. Jessica looked at me with concern, but didn't press further. It was everyone's first time meeting Emma, but with her cheerful personality, she quickly warmed up to them.
Wow. Mary working overseas at 30? That's amazing. I'm so jealous.
Thank you.
And she's been promoted too.
Well, yes. It's something I've dedicated a lot of time to.
Everyone was excitedly celebrating Mary's promotion when suddenly Emma interjected.
Some people get promoted at 30, and yet.
She shot me a nasty smile, then spoke in a loud, clear voice.
Laura's practically a parasite. She couldn't survive if she got divorced.
What? The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. The family fell silent, the room freezing over. Unfazed by the shocked expressions around her, Emma continued with a carefree laugh.
Come on, being a stay-at-home mom is basically the same as being a freeloader, right? Laura only gets by because of Steve, doesn't she? Right, Steve?
She tilted her head cutely, seeking Steve's agreement. Steve, clearly pleased, nodded in agreement.
You know, Emma, you really get it. You're the only one who understands. Laura just nags all the time and never shows a bit of gratitude.
Poor Steve, working so hard and getting no appreciation.
What kind of farce is this? I was stunned, completely at a loss for words. Just moments ago, we'd been in a celebratory mood for Mary's promotion, and now every family member but Steve and Emma looked painfully uncomfortable. Just then, Kevin returned from the bathroom.
What's up? It got really quiet in here. Did something happen?
With a clueless expression, Kevin asked, and Emma quickly responded.
We were just talking about how amazing Steve is. Laura really should appreciate him more. If Steve ever left her, she'd be in big trouble. Laura would go straight to homelessness.
Emma covered her mouth, giggling, as if enjoying the thought of me being abandoned by Steve. Kevin and Steve chuckled along with her. Though the rest of the family looked uncomfortable, Jessica finally took a deep breath and stood up.
Excuse me, Emma, you've been saying.
I stopped her with a gesture. Thank you, but it's fine.
Laura.
Seeing my family's reactions, it became clear. Emma was undoubtedly mocking me. And Steve, laughing alongside her at his own wife, could no longer be considered my husband.
Hey, Laura, with that stern face, Steve's going to lose patience with you.
Emma seemed to think she had won since I wasn't responding. Fine, I thought, and gave her a warm smile before saying, Don't worry, I'll divorce Steve and cut ties with you too.
What?
The laughter abruptly stopped, and the room fell silent once again.
Even Laura can crack jokes?
I'm serious. Why would I joke about something so tasteless? Keeping my smile cold and steady, I watched as Emma's mouth twitched involuntarily.
But getting a divorce now would just be difficult for you. I mean, what place would hire you, Laura, with no work history?
Steve quickly agreed with Emma, looking a bit desperate.
That's right. Life isn't as easy as you think. Face reality.
I glared at him, and he faltered for a moment, but still tried to hold his ground. Snorting, he continued his insults.
At least if you stay married to me, I'll keep supporting you. Just stay quietly as a housewife.
It was Jessica who spoke up in my defense.
Maybe it's you who needs to face reality.
What? Me?
Jessica. Jessica gave me a nod and a look that said, Leave it to me. Her eyes were filled with anger. Even though she's only my sister-in-law, the fact that she was this upset on my behalf was something I was truly grateful for.
Steve,
What now?
how old will you be next year?
Taken aback by Jessica's unexpected question, Steve looked at her with his mouth open.
60. So what?
And compared to that, sorry, Laura, how old are you again?
50.
So what? It's only a 10-year difference. Practically nothing.
At that moment, Mary's eyes opened wide, and she quickly turned to Jessica, answering in a loud voice. She had the enthusiasm of a quiz show contestant.
Steve is almost at retirement age.
Jessica nodded firmly. Emma's face quickly went pale. It seemed she immediately understood the implications of Steve's retirement. She's quick on her feet. Emma stood up unsteadily, her voice trembling.
Steve, you're retiring? Are you considering reemployment options?
Well, my body's not what it used to be. So I thought I'd just quit and take it easy.
Steve gave a carefree laugh, while the anxiety on Emma's face only grew. Kevin didn't seem to understand why Emma was so worried.
Well, Dad's worked hard for so long. He deserves to relax now.
He was backing up Steve with his comments. In the end, they really are two of a kind, father and son. Emma shot Kevin a sharp look, then took a small breath and glanced at me, almost pleading.
With Steve retiring, you'll be able to relax too, right, Laura? When you think about it, it's better not to get divorced. Really, that's definitely the best choice.
It was clear she was trying to convince me to stay, but her words lacked any real conviction. You really think I'll be able to relax?
What?
Just because Steve's retiring doesn't mean my workload changes. If anything, the thought of that old-fashioned man being at home all day, it's enough to make me shudder.
Well, but maybe you could enjoy some quality time together as a couple.
Realizing how absurd she sounded, a light sheen of sweat appeared on Emma's forehead. Her unusual look of desperation made me laugh out loud.
What's so funny?
Oh, nothing. But of course, you must feel desperate. Once I'm gone, you'll be the obvious replacement.
I'm pregnant. There's no way I could take over your role, Laura.
Do you really think Steve is someone you can reason with? Steve believes it's only natural for a wife to serve him. Right now, with me here, he doesn't face any inconvenience. He even has the luxury of doting on Emma, his young and flattering daughter-in-law. However, if I were gone, there'd be no one left in that house to handle the chores. In that case, all of Steve's expectations would inevitably fall on Emma, his only son's wife. Kevin, always obedient to Steve, would hardly step in to defend her. That's why you're so anxious right now, isn't it? Because you understand that too?
Worried? I'm not. Well,
At last, Emma fell silent. Then Steve stood up, as if to shield Emma, placing her behind him protectively.
Enough already. Are you not ashamed of yourself? Attacking her just because you're jealous?
Excuse me? Attacking her? Me? How could he even see it that way? They were the ones who mocked me first. Did he forget everything that happened just minutes ago?
You're just upset because she's young, social, and cute. I never thought you'd turn into such a spiteful woman the moment you became a mother-in-law. I'm disappointed in you.
Steve puffed up his chest, breathing heavily. Does he think he's some kind of hero defending Emma? As I stood there, silently stunned, Steve, thinking he had won, gave a smug smile.
Well, I can understand if you're a little jealous. I'll admit that's partly on me. Maybe after I retire, we could go on a trip together.
That's not happening.
What?
Before I could think, the words just came out.
What did you just say?
We're planning a divorce, so why would I be going on any trips with you? That's ridiculous.
Wait, we're not getting divorced.
Yes, we are. I'd originally planned to do it right after Kevin graduated. But then I heard that Emma didn't have anyone to rely on post-birth, so I thought I'd stay another year to help her out. But it seems that was unnecessary. In hindsight, I should have gone through with the divorce back then. Emma is clearly strong enough to handle things without my concern.
I won't agree to a divorce.
I thought you'd say that, so I came prepared. I reached into the drawer under the TV and pulled out something, holding it up in front of Steve. It was something precious I'd kept hidden as a safeguard for the past few months. Maybe this will change your mind. Steve's eyes widened as he took the photos I handed him, his hands starting to tremble.
How? How did you get this?
It seems you were entering and leaving a nearby hotel quite openly. I asked a detective agency to look into it, and they reported back right away.
Where did you get the money for that?
I used a small part of my inheritance from my mom. My dad passed away when I was a student, and my mom had died last year from illness. She'd actually left me a considerable inheritance, though of course, I'd never told Steve, so he probably assumed I had no money of my own. I know how much you care about appearances. Apparently at work, you're known as a devoted husband. Since retirement is coming up, wouldn't you want to keep that image intact? Clearly shaken, Steve opened and closed his mouth, unable to find the words. Finally, he seemed to give up, his shoulders slumping as he dropped to his knees. I've already consulted a lawyer, so we'll handle everything through them. Frankly, I don't want to see your face anymore. That's how much I despise you. I gave him a cold glance, and he said nothing more. As I turned to leave, I caught sight of Jessica and the others, and a pang of guilt crossed my heart. I'm sorry it had to come to this.
That's our line. Please reach out anytime you like. And don't worry without that idiot.
Jessica gave me a few pats on the back. Her kindness nearly brought me to tears. Just as I was leaving the houses, Kevin called out to stop me. Emma was standing beside him.
Mom, are you really going through with the divorce? Sure, Dad was wrong for cheating, but divorcing so easily feels kind of cold. I just feel bad for him.
He looked at me, clearly disapproving. Well then, why don't you both take care of him?
What?
You feel sorry for him, don't you? Perfect then. Just keep living together here. He'll be unemployed soon, but the three of you can make it work.
That's impossible.
Then don't make thoughtless comments. Emma.
Yes?
Hearing her name, Emma flinched slightly, as if already contemplating the future. Raising a child will be challenging, but I'm sure you'll do just fine.
But if I run into any trouble, what should I do?
Emma looked up at me, her eyes pleading. Even though I was divorcing Steve, she probably hoped I might still help with her child, my grandchild. But those hopeful eyes were only met with disappointment. I'm not that generous. Even if there's a sweet grandchild involved, I'd rather not have any further ties with Emma or her family. When the time comes, consult with your own mother, and if that doesn't work, maybe consider public assistance. Also, there's no need to inform me when the baby's born. We're strangers now. I'll simply pray for a safe birth, that's all.
Wait,
Leaving her with a dissatisfied expression, I walked away. I'm done being taken advantage of. As I had told Steve, I left all discussions about the divorce to my lawyer. According to the lawyer, Steve stubbornly refused the divorce.
She can't seriously want to leave me. Let me talk to her one more time. I'll definitely make things right.
I have no idea where his confidence came from, but apparently he kept insisting on this. Even though I had clearly told him I never wanted to see him again, he seemed to have a habit of erasing inconvenient memories. Left with no other option, I wrote a letter explaining just how much I despised him and wanted the divorce. At the end of the letter, I added, "If you keep resisting, we'll have to go to court. That would mean more time, more money, and a high chance of everyone finding out. Are you sure you're okay with that?" Given that he was close to retirement, I doubted Steve wanted unnecessary trouble. As expected, fearing exposure at his company, Steve finally signed the divorce papers. After that, things moved surprisingly smoothly. He even agreed to pay alimony in a lump sum, including compensation for his affair, directly from his retirement funds, exactly as I had requested. I found it strange that he was suddenly so compliant, but it turned out Jessica had talked some sense into him.
Now that you're divorced, why don't you just accept all of Laura's terms? You wouldn't want her to hate you even more, right? Show a bit of integrity, and maybe you'll even regain some respect.
I'll work hard to win her back.
Apparently, Steve had been fired up by Jessica's words.
Laura, I don't think it'll happen, but just to be clear, you absolutely shouldn't get back together with Steve. You're far too good for him.
Jessica's laughter came through the phone, and I felt that she was someone I wanted to stay in touch with in the future. I heard that Emma successfully gave birth after all that, but there was a shocking twist. First, through a mutual friend, Kevin found out about Emma's affair and confronted her, leading to the revelation of her infidelity. DNA tests confirmed that Kevin was not the father. The real father was apparently a married man over a decade older than her. Kevin told her he couldn't accept a child that wasn't his, and the two divorced. Emma then tried to force the real father to acknowledge the child, which reportedly escalated into a police matter. Kevin came to me in tears, but given everything that had happened, I couldn't feel much sympathy. "Do your best." That was all I said to him. Now, I'm managing to support myself by working as a housekeeper, a job Jessica introduced me to. It turns out her reason for reaching out was to help me find work. Luckily, all my clients have been wonderful people, and I feel as though I'm receiving more than just a paycheck. Compared to the days I spent living with Steve, my life is now full in ways I couldn't have imagined. I may feel like I wasted a lot of time, but I still have a long life ahead of me. Finally able to work freely, I plan to live the rest of my life just the way I want.